Daly is next.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Again, I'm not sure I'll take the full slot, but I was asked earlier about was it the case that I was sort of opposed to everything, and I made the point that yeah, I'm opposed to quite a lot of what this government does. If I wasn't, I'd be part of it. That's our job as opposition deputies. But I was asked, was there anything that we would compliment the government on? And it was a real struggle, but the only one that you would come up with is the one that we're discussing here today, and in many ways that's not something that ye necessarily delivered, no more than this House, side of the House, delivered either. The result in the marriage equality referendum was a resounding vote by the people outside this chamber, the real people who make up Ireland in the present decades and so on, and I think it was incredibly enlightening for so many people, really across the generations, and I am glad that she had the referendum. I hope that she learned from it that the people can be trusted, and probably the biggest lesson that can be learned from it is that these issues, which maybe in some ways could be deemed to be private matters or moral issues between citizens, really have no place in a constitution for a country. And while I will be making some points about why we need to change the constitution in relation to women's rights and abortion, really the debate we should be having is what type of constitution do we want in the modern age, and a secular constitution for an open, tolerant society, and a basically redrafting of everything would be far preferable, in my opinion, than tinkering around the edges and going through every single article that actually needs to be updated and modernised by a huge degree. I think we should take a lot of confidence from the fact that on a world stage we were the first country to bring in such a measure by a popular vote. I think when you couple it with the trans legislation which the government passed, which in fairness went beyond what she'd originally proposed, and I think that's really good, that should be taken as a signal for how business could be done in this House, because again, while it wasn't perfect, it moved on an awful lot, and it actually moved on beyond what many other countries who would be deemed to be progressive have, which for a country like Ireland, which came from a religious-dominated ethos, is actually very enlightening, and I think would have inspired a lot of people. It's not false to say that there are people around the world who are looking at Ireland now and thinking that some very interesting things are going on in our shores, and I think we need to package that and bring it into debates really on other issues and agendas. And what I would really like to see is a completely grassroots discussion on what type of a constitution that do we want. And issues of private personal morality have really no place in a constitution, no more than private health matters have either. They're an irrelevancy. If people want to make a moral judgment, if people are believers in certain religious ethos, I will fight for their rights to practice that religion. But I also feel that that shouldn't be in a constitution, and as an atheist I believe it shouldn't be in our schools, in our hospitals or whatever. It should be certainly a private personal matter, and we have a long way to go to reach that situation. I agree with the points that it's been a huge plus for gay people, bisexual people, trans people in Ireland, the idea of being accepted. I think the personal stories were huge. In this debate, it showed Irish life now in all its multifaceted ways. The idea that we have a nuclear family of one mammy, one daddy and 2 point whatever kids has long been in the past, and to reflect real lives and real differences in sexuality was very, very welcome. I think that's carrying on now into the debate on abortion rights, with again real women, real mothers, real grandmothers, real daughters telling their stories about why and the circumstances that led them to choose an abortion. So I think we need to reflect all of that, and if people have a religious ideology and so on, respect it. Do that. Nobody's going to force you to have an abortion or force you to marry a gay person, but don't be stopping other people from doing it either. I do think that there needs to be a catch-up in terms of the legislation from the marriage equality vote. In terms of Section 37, while it's true we've moved on, I think we've a long way to go. I mean, some of the moves in terms of our education system, in terms of patronage of the schools, it's not really where we should be going, because in essence what we're doing is replacing one patron with another and allowing a system of discrimination and segregation continue. And I don't think that's advisable. I think all children of all religious persuasion, and none, should be educated together in the schools near the areas where they live, and any other separate religious or other moral teachings should be done privately. And I agree that in terms of full rights for teachers and nurses, then Section 37 needs to be looked at, and actually needs to be looked at beyond what the government is proposing and what the Labour Party bill proposes, because that would still allow discrimination against, for example, atheist teachers, when we have a peculiar education system which is 100% state funded but 100% privately run. But I just want to, in the final minutes, make an argument really for why we should seize the feel-good factor that the marriage equality referendum delivered. There's going to be an economic kick out of this. It's a location now for gay tourism, which I hope the gay couples who I hope come here in their thousands don't find the experience to be different than that, but I'm very glad that they see Ireland as a gay-friendly destination. But we can do that as well in terms of women's rights. And I note the comments that you made yesterday, Minister, published in some of the papers, about the idea of abortion not being as part of the Constitution, and I welcome that. The reality is that for women in this country, the idea of a private personal health matter relating to our bodies and our choices being put in the Constitution is reprehensible and has no place really in a modern Ireland. I mean, to compound the problem, we have a Constitution which actually says you have a legal right to an abortion, you have a legal right to, and a constitutional right indeed, to abortion information, but you have no right to access that medical treatment at home. And, you know, given some of the circumstances, not all, some people are very clear and happy and find the decision to have an abortion easy. Other people, the circumstances are not easy, be it in cases of rape, in horrendous cases of fatal fetal abnormalities and so on. And as the UN and other European bodies have said, by us not recognising people's right to access this medical treatment here, in essence what it means is the most vulnerable women, migrant women, poor women, sick women are the only people who can't access their constitutional right to an abortion anywhere else. So I think it is the case that what the marriage equality referendum taught us is that this idea that there is a marauding band of conservative majority who are silently waiting in the wings there to jump on any measure of progress or social change, it's just not true. In actual fact, what we've seen is a disproportionate influence by those people on social policy. And time and again, studies and surveys have said that even if people don't feel maybe themselves, that if they feel that maybe abortion or something is a moral issue or a personal choice, they're happy to leave that choice to the people who have to make it and not preclude them for making that choice. So I think that's a really healthy development, and I think we can grow on the basis of what was achieved in the marriage equality. And again, to say, you know, these issues would have been sorted out long ago if they'd been left to the Irish people, who I think are very tolerant, who are very practical. They know life isn't black and white. We're not all the same. We don't all have the same life's experiences or whatever. But for a society to respect everybody, to say that wouldn't it be brilliant for society whereby people have children when they're ready to have them, when they have the supports to have them, when they can bring them up with dignity and respect and so on? Wouldn't that be a great Ireland? Rather than the embarrassing past that we had when people who had maybe crisis pregnancies were hidden behind walls of Magdalen laundries, were confined to mother and baby homes, and then years later we apologised to them for the damage that we did to them. Now we say, well, look, we know you have a problem there, but sure, look, get on the Ryanair plane or illegally purchase a packet of pills over the internet. We don't want to know you. But I think what's changing now, and what the marriage equality referendum did, was people do want to know them, and those women want to tell their stories, and that's been a real carry-on from the marriage equality referendum. So I do acknowledge that she gave us the opportunity as citizens to have a say on what way we wanted Ireland to be. And I'm delighted and I appreciate that, and I'm really begging and hoping that ye, or whoever else follows after ye the next time, gives us that right to do the same in terms of women's rights, because I don't think that people will disappoint, and I think that will be a very good thing for Ireland. And to be honest, it can't come quick enough. These issues of old morality have no part in our constitution. There are many different shapes and sizes. All are welcome, all different, all equal.